Alright guys, today's video I'm going to be talking about Amazon FBA courses and mentorship and coaching and all of that stuff. I assume if you're browsing YouTube, you've obviously seen other people doing content and all of this sort of stuff. There's so many people out there that are trying to push courses and trying to teach you how to do Amazon. And I'm going to talk about what I think of it, what I think of the current state of everything that's kind of going on. I'm going to tell you my own personal experience with a guy from the UK that I did his course and got his mentorship a couple of years ago. I'm going to also speak about some other UK gurus that I've mentioned previously in some other videos. And then I'm going to give you my personal opinion. Do I think that you need a course? Do I think that you need mentorship? I'm going to give you the honest lowdown, which is in line with what we're trying to do with all our content on this FBA channel. If you're interested in all of that sort of stuff, give us a like, give us a subscribe, you know the drill. All right, so if you're browsing around YouTube, you can avoid missing it, right? There's so much content on every part of Amazon FBA, and pretty much everybody is trying to sell you something. They're trying to sell you a course or mentorship or whatever it is. Now, inherently, I think this is fine. If you have great information from great experience and you want to sell that information and that knowledge to other people, and you want to help them build a real Amazon FBA business, I don't see a problem with that. We do that. I'm not trying to hide that. I think that's fine. But what I do have a bit of an issue with, and I think this is one of the sort of hot topics, is this idea of like fake gurus. And can you really trust what a lot of these people are saying? Are they just, trying to package everything up and make it look really nice so that you buy their course and you pay for their mentorship, and then really you're not going to learn that much and you're not really going to have much success? Now, you might have seen one of my previous videos where I dove into, you might have seen one of my previous videos where I was talking about a UK guru called Jonny Bradley. Now, I'm not going to keep going on about Jonny all the time, but I think he is a great example of one of the problems that exists within this type of industry. Now, Jonny started on Amazon a few years ago. He started selling, on Amazon, did pretty well, I think, in the beginning. He made a YouTube channel, he created a course and started doing mentorship. And obviously he started making a lot of money. Now, at that time, that was fine, but I think what happened is he didn't really see much success with his own Amazon business, and he just kind of stopped selling on Amazon and just concentrated on growing his coaching business. Now, if you check out some of his earlier videos, he has a bottle brand called Hydro Fuel.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, we're going to be looking at how I launch a competitive product.
And he did this big whole series on it where he talked about going into this super saturated niche, and how it wasn't true that you couldn't go into saturated niches, and he was going to prove everybody wrong. Now, it ended up being that this was a bit of a flop. I don't think that product actually does anything now. What I would say was a complete failure, which, for him to put himself out there and to do that in front of everybody, I think fair play, and not everything is a success. But what annoys me is he didn't really mention it after that, and then moving on from that, he's not really done anything since then, and it appears now that he just doesn't really sell anything on Amazon. He just sells courses. Now, this is the biggest pet peeve, and I think the problem with all of this, like I said, is if you're supposed to be learning from other people, do you not want those people to actually be selling on Amazon right now? Because Amazon's changed a lot in the past couple of years with COVID and logistics, and there's been a ton of things that have made the game completely change. And I don't think that unless you're in the weeds yourself, doing this yourself, you can really give solid advice on what works and what doesn't. Now, I know the counter argument to this might be, well, these people, they have successful students, but I would argue that their success rate for those students, the percentage is probably super, super low. And I don't necessarily think it's because of the low quality in the courses and stuff like that. I just kind of think that generally they're giving pretty generic advice. I just don't see how, if you really want to learn from somebody how to create a successful Amazon business, how can you do that if they're not really doing that themselves and they've never really done that? So that's my main problem with people like Jonny, and it's not just him. I would say the vast majority of people that you see on YouTube, they don't really have any success with their own businesses. Maybe they did in the past, they had a little bit, and then it fizzles out, and then they carry on making money from making videos and selling courses. And I'm sure they have some successful students, like I say, but I just think it's a little bit dishonest. For me and for Tom, our primary concern is our brand. That's where the real money is going to be for us. We're growing two of our brands that we want to sell for 7 figures in the next couple of years. And yes, we have another income, which is, the course that we have and the mentorship that we offer. But that's just to supplement our income and have multiple income streams. And we also enjoy helping people and making these videos. But the important thing for us is that we're actually growing our business. We're actually seeing what works with Amazon in 2022. We're not just saying this stuff in theory. you know, we're not just pumping out a ton of content on YouTube and it's not really based on our own experience. So this leads me into my experience a couple of years ago with another guy from the UK, and that guy is Dylan Reed. Now, Dylan still has a YouTube channel. He still puts out videos occasionally. Now, a couple of years ago, I bought Dylan's course and I also got his mentorship at the time. Now, my experience with Dylan, it wasn't amazing. At the time, I was really looking for a mentor that could sort of get me over that final hump towards launching my first product. And I went to him. The contact and the mentorship worked. It was all via email. And I would go to him and I would give him my product ideas and then he would give me feedback. And the main issue really was that the feedback loop was just too long and it just wasn't very in-depth. He would reply sometimes 2 days later, and now in hindsight, when I actually look at it, the feedback that he was giving me was pretty terrible really. Like, it wasn't really great advice when I think back now. I won't go into the specific details, but knowing what I know about Amazon now, the things that he was telling me back then were just absolutely terrible. Now, I don't really think this is because Dylan is absolutely clueless about Amazon. I do think he kind of knows what he's talking about, but again, like Jonny, his business has fizzled out. He doesn't really do very much revenue on Amazon anymore. I think it's almost non-existent. If you notice and if you follow him on Instagram, he never really shows his results anymore, which again is the same as Jonny. If you check out Jonny, when was the last time that he showed you any of his Amazon FBA results? He doesn't, because he doesn't make any money on Amazon. The reason that I went to Dylan in the first place, because 3 years ago, he was posting his results, but I realized now that looking back, you know, he had so many students that he couldn't really give personalized advice. So again, I don't really know whether it was through a lack of knowledge or just not really having the time to properly give you good feedback. But this is one of the issues that I see with people like Dylan and people like Jonny, is that there's no way that they personally have enough time to give all of those hundreds or thousands of students proper feedback and proper mentorship. So that was my experience with Dylan. It wasn't amazing. The actual content in the actual course, it wasn't too bad. It was pretty high level. It was very basic. That content wouldn't really apply nowadays in 2022. It's just not in depth enough. Amazon has changed. You need to be way more sophisticated. You need to be way more skilled to make Amazon work now. So the content there was pretty outdated, and I haven't seen it recently. Obviously, I don't have access to it anymore, but I would be surprised if it's, you know, at the forefront of Amazon, because how can it be if he's not actually continued to grow his business in that time? Now, what you'll generally see with these people on YouTube is that you'll get access to the course and then maybe you get access to a Facebook group. And one of the things I heard recently about Jonny's group in particular was that he actually has other people doing his onboarding, and he has these kind of people that work for him. Now, for me, this is fine if those people are experienced Amazon sellers, but I heard that he actually uses Mario, who is the guy from one of his recent video series, as somebody that onboards people into the group and into the student mentorship and all of that stuff, and he's like a group expert in there. Now, this kind of blows my mind, because you pay all of this money to work with somebody like Jonny Bradley, who is supposed to be an Amazon expert, and then you're actually getting advice from this other guy that is not an Amazon expert. He's only just launched one product. He's not really seen any success. And how does that make any sense? So this is the other issue that I have, is I think these people get too big. They take on too many students and they can't really give good advice. They can't really give personalized advice. And then if they're hiring other people that don't really know what they're talking about to give advice for them, I think that's pretty terrible. And I don't really think that's worth £2,000. Now, again, with Jonny's course, I don't know. I've not seen it. I've not seen the content. I'm sure it's pretty good. I'm sure overall the course content is pretty decent. Like, it's not going to be absolutely terrible. But I think if you're looking for that personalized mentorship and you really want somebody to give you great feedback, somebody that actually is experienced in Amazon in 2022, I don't really think you're going to get that from people like Jonny or people like Dylan. I want to give you my opinion on whether or not I think it's worth doing an Amazon FBA course and getting mentorship. Now, the answer to that is, I think honestly it really depends. I think it depends on you and your experience level. Now, if you're coming from a background that's very similar, if you already work in e-commerce, or perhaps you've got a ton of marketing and SEO experience, for example, then you're going to find it much easier to sort of just watch YouTube videos and piece all the information together and then make a good run at something. But even then, in my honest opinion, I do think it's worth getting a mentor or getting a course. I think it just saves you a ton of time. And if it's somebody that really knows what they're doing and they can personally look at what your plans are, I think they're really going to save you so much time and so much in the way of helping you avoid costly mistakes. Now, if you launch a product and it doesn't really go very well, not only does it cost you money, but yeah, you can waste 5, 6, 7 months of time and then you probably go on and just give up. So I do think it's important that you find somebody that you trust, that can give you guidance, that can stop you making those mistakes, and it can also just speed everything up. If you have all the information in one place, that's just great. And if you can ask somebody for personal guidance, that's even better. So I do think it's worth it. Obviously, if it fits in within your budget, but I think honestly, you should probably invest in that training up front, and then you should start building out your budget after that to actually go on and launch your first products and start your first brand. The reality is, and this is the truth, is that there's an amazing opportunity with Amazon FBA right now, but you need to do it properly. It's probably the toughest time to get into it, but it's also the best time to get into it if you end up doing it right. Like, it's not as easy as it was a few years ago, but if you do it right and you work with the right people, you can actually have amazing success in the space of just a couple of years. So if you are going to look for a mentor, if you're going to do a course, I would say my one bit of advice is just make sure that this person has either had previous success and they've gone on and sold their business. There's a lot of people on YouTube like that. Or it's somebody that's actually selling on Amazon and growing their business right now. If they never post their results, if you don't see their brand, if they don't post their profit or their revenue even, then it's pretty obvious that they're not really selling on Amazon themselves, and you've got to question, is this somebody that I want to trust to give me the most up-to-date information on what works and what doesn't? So that would be my advice if you are looking to do this. If you want to reach out and ask me questions in the comments or drop us an email, I can give you more advice on where to look and all that sort of stuff. We also obviously offer mentorship and coaching and that type of stuff. There's information in the description if you want to learn more about that. But that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you an honest insight into this stuff, because I know, honestly, in my experience, I didn't really know who I could trust. I hope you feel like you can trust us, myself and Tom. I hope you can see that we're actually growing our own business, and that's our primary concern. We're not just trying to sell stuff to you. We're really trying to grow our own business and change our own lives and have this huge success with the brands that we're creating. If you got any more ideas for content that we can do, let us know down in the comments. If not, like, subscribe, all of that jazz, and I will see you in the next video.